Hey everybody, it's Saturday afternoon and the sun just popped out, so I'm going to take the opportunity to do a quick yard tour here. Everything changes really fast this time of year, so if I don't get out at least once every few days, we can completely miss some flowers and certainly miss the peak of others. So we're not necessarily going to hit everything today, but I do just want to catch up on some of the things that have been happening since the last yard tour. My beautiful white azalea right there is clearly past its prime. It's definitely on the downside and turning brown. However, our other azaleas that are a little later blooming are still looking fantastic. This one looks great while simultaneously dropping a lot of its flowers on the ground, so it actually looks really pretty with all the color on the ground as well. And you can just about make out our bearded iris right there. That is one that is starting to open. We've got a few of those, but we've got a lot of different species of the iris that are going to be opening. Namely, right here, these huge ones are black iris, and they are beautiful when they open, so I'm really looking forward to those. The other thing I want to point out is our many and varied columbine that we have all around the yard. Columbine's one of my favorite flowers. The flowers themselves are just fascinating. They're all really similar. They all have this sort of honeycomb structure with these sort of feelers or fingers or whatever that stick off behind them, but there's all sorts of varieties. Some of them are really densely packed and have really tightly clustered honeycomb. Some have those little things that come off the back that stick several inches out behind it. Really neat looking plant. And then of course the foliage itself on the columbine is attractive in its own right, so it's a plant I like all the way around. Here's another one. Again, we just have so many different colors of these. This is a really basic, simple one. Over here we have one a little more elaborate. Same sort of honeycomb structure on the inside. And then we have these. I think these are the prettiest ones we have blooming at the moment. We used to have some blue and white ones, and I don't know where they are anymore, but you can see how these are a little more densely packed, and my camera will not focus on these. I don't know what it is about the color. I was trying to get some pics of these for my Instagram, and I cannot get a close-up photo. It will not focus on that particular color. But again, you can see how same basic structure, but really different. So moving on, again, everything's just greening up and starting to fill in. We're gonna have tons of stuff going on by mid-June here, and you can see that bright purple iris. We have quite a few of those. That's another interesting columbine up there. I don't know if I want to walk up and look at it from this direction, but we might hit it around from the top side. So let's come around here. Excuse me. One of the flowers I've been talking about got hit by the storm last night, but this is an allium, or an onion, a type of onion. And I always said it goes off like a firework, and now you can kind of see what I'm talking about as far as the way it just shoots up in the air, and then it actually does look like it pops like a firework. So unfortunately that one's all knocked down, but we do have another one over here. And likewise, if you saw my last video, you saw how that was just sort of a little cluster, and then boom, it just goes off like a firework. So this one's already past its prime. You can already see the little green seed heads starting to develop, but you get the idea. Have another iris over here. Got hit by the cold or the rain or something. I'm not sure why that looks so beat up, but it does. Nothing really new or of interest going on over here just yet. I will point out, my wife thought this morning that maybe a delivery truck or something had hit one of our snowball bushes here in the driveway, because this branch was doing that. And I came out and inspected it, and it really is just so laden down with these snowballs that it's just heavy. it's just dragging it down. And of course, again, we got the rain last night, and so there was so much water weight and everything added to that skinny little branch could not hold all of the weight of all of those huge snowball flowers up. So I mean, when you get up here and look at some of them, you know, I mean, some of these things are literally the size of softballs. So I always like this bush. I have to get in here and trim it back because it really does grow over the driveway. And once again, we're not going to really have a walk down the driveway, but just spotted another columbine, so we'll come over here and have a look at this. This is very similar to the one we already looked at. Awesome flower. Really like the columbines. Alright, might take the kayak out here one of these days soon. The reservoir is now open again, so I am able to go out. It's just a holiday weekend, so it's probably going to be a little bit busy for my taste. So maybe sometime next week, if I get caught up on work, we'll get out on the kayak and do some outdoor video out there in the reservoir. Nothing really new going on over here. Just filling in, lush and green. We, if you couldn't tell, have a very shady yard. We've pretty much passed the sunny part of the day. This is the sunny area of the yard, and you can already see how much shade. I think it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sun is already, you know, over there behind the trees. And it tracks across here during the day. Even in midsummer, you know, middle of the day, the sun is up there, so we get dapple sunlight at best through the tops of the trees, especially now once the trees fill in. Early in the year we get a lot of sun, and then the leaves come in and our sun goes away, and we have a very shady yard as a result. Not much going on up here. Oh, we do have one flag lily right there. That'll be opening soon. Those are really pretty. I had a couple of those in the waterfall area last year. And this is some kind of new tree a friend of my wife gave to us, and we didn't know if it was going to survive the winter because it didn't look too good when we transplanted it last fall, but it came back looking fantastic this year, so we got high hopes for that. Not even sure what kind of tree it is, but I'm excited about it. Bamboo is starting to come up. When we first moved out here in the summer, it was all private, and then the leaves fell, and we found out there's a house right there, there's a house right there, there's a whole cul-de-sac of houses right up there. And so I planted bamboo all along the fence line, and over the years it's just sort of made its way everywhere. And now in the springtime I have to go around and knock this stuff down. So the way bamboo grows is it sends up one shoot in its growing spurt in the spring, and if you do that, if you just break that off, that's it. It's done. Now the root is going to continue its runner, and I'll probably find many more stalks coming up. In fact, my wife and I this morning were walking around the far side of the yard and just kicking these over and breaking them down, and by doing that it keeps it, you know, out of the yard and keeps it back there, but the runners still keep running all through the yard. And so every year it's the spring task of going around and kicking down the bamboo and breaking the bamboo down so it doesn't grow too much out into the yard. So you can kind of see why I used to call that the fern garden area. It used to be much more of a organized garden with trails and seats and benches. I had a little fire pit back there and so on and so forth, but we just kind of let that go back to doing its thing. Got this azalea up here is in full bloom, looking fantastic. Our rhododendrons always really struggle, but this year we actually did get a few flowers on them. If you were not aware, a rhododendron is very closely related to an azalea. If you ever look really closely at the flowers, you will see rhododendrons look like giant azalea flowers, or vice versa. You could say an azalea looks like a tiny little rhododendron flower. These are all just hostas that are just coming up just because I never really mow back there anymore. I'm just letting the hostas take over. Little ornamental Japanese maples looking good. We've got rows of Sharon everywhere, so once they start blooming by midsummer, we'll have flowers all over the yard from them. Got some more columbine in here. Let's have a look at these, see how different these look. Pretty similar to what we've already seen. Likewise, I think these have a little more of a compact structure, a little more tightly clustered honeycomb look to them. And I do want to actually go down there and look at those. Because I know some of them somewhere have, this is just the same as what we were just looking at, and then those are more of the pink ones. Some of them have really densely clustered, again, it looks like a honeycomb, and I'm just not seeing any of it look like that right now. More azalea. That is a gorgeous azalea. And then up here is where we were this morning kicking over bamboo. You can see all the bamboo growing through there. I pretty much have it all along the back fence line. Like I said, I planted it all over the place when we first moved out here 20 years ago this year. Actually, August will be 20 years. So we were experiencing a little bit of deer damage over here, but I own a deer repellent company where I spray deer repellent. I don't make the deer repellent, I buy it. But I came over here and I sprayed our gardens, and I also blocked a couple of areas where I think the deer were coming over the fence and into the yard. And between those two things, we have not had any real deer damage since. So I think I got on top of that problem and we're good to go. Not really much new going on over here. And I don't know how loud the lawnmower next door is coming out on camera. Probably not very loud, but I can hear it. So I don't want to drone on too much with lawnmower noises in the background. But again, not much new going on here when you're dealing with hostas and stuff. It's mainly just filling in and getting greener and lusher. Maybe one of these days when the sun comes back out and we actually get a day where it's really pretty and sunny out, we will come over here and maybe talk about some of the more specific types of hostas, because we have all sorts of different hostas. We were just talking about this one this morning. I'm not sure what this one's called. My wife thinks this is praying hands, but I do not. And then we've got this other, oh, I can't even find it now. There it is. This one is called Wee. And yes, that is exactly how it is spelled. And so that's another one that we really like. We just got that one a couple years ago. And of course, I've mentioned before, we've got all these little tiny micro hostas everywhere, and a huge variety of different ferns and stuff over here. And so maybe someday we'll just spend a day, or spend a video just in this garden alone, going over that kind of stuff. And then over here we're just letting it it blends naturally. All that dead nettle and stuff you see there, incidentally, that's where the dead nettle in my aquarium came from. That's all just there. That's all just natural growth. We didn't plant any of that. That's just part of the woods. So that is about it for this side of the yard. Oh look, we got a flower spike on the hosta. That's the first hosta flower spike I've seen so far this year. Not a lot going on down here. Huge honeysuckle bushes. If you see all those flowering bushes everywhere in the background and on the edges of the property and everything, that's all honeysuckle bushes. We did have this tree cut down last year, and so now the honeysuckle is just going to sort of grow right over the top of that. You're never even going to notice it's there. And that's all just a bunch of seeds and cuttings and mishmash, and that's our potting bench. So, potting bench kind of stuff is happening over there. This area is already done. Got some weeds I pulled but haven't cleaned up yet. And we are back to where we started. So there you go, everybody. We started out with the bright sunshine, and we might end up with a moment of sunshine if we pause here for just a moment. So I'm going to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, this is my yard tour playlist, and I will see you real soon for the next one.